Hey folks, welcome to a late night episode of YOML. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. So today we're doing reflection 236, and we are back with the third installment of the book Anti-Fragile by Naim Nicholas Taleb. So hopefully this is going to be an exciting one, even though it's a late night.
Yeah, do you remember Never Split the Difference with his,
Chris Bostic.
yeah, late night DJ, FM
Yes,
radio, voice,
we are.
anti-fragile,
Yeah,
anti-fragile.
Antifa.
That's a great thing. Things that gain from disorder by Nassim Taleb.
We do that one before, right?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, yeah. So hopefully the audience know what we're talking about. A late night DJ voice, the soft spoken.
Today's reflection is about curiosity is anti-fragile. So I started this off as a little fun, scenario. So let's the definition of fragility, as we all know, is being easily broken or damaged. So I thought let's give an example to set the stage here. So I like to think of a beautiful porcelain vase sitting on a tiny pedestal in the middle of a room of toddlers at a daycare center, right? And it looks great. It's a beautiful vase, very valuable. But we all know it's just a matter of time before one of those toddlers accidentally does something stupid, right? So the daycare center, for fun, tasks its employees in the daycare center room to protect the vase. First, they put a lot of rules in place. They tell all the kids, hey, no touching it ever. You cannot be around it. You got to be within 5 feet of it. No running near it. They tell all the rules, and the kids clearly violate it all the time. And they're like, okay, we got to go to phase 2 here. So then they start to put up a bunch of barriers around. They erect barriers around the vase. They're like, oh, this should work. And then, during one game of football or something like that, those stupid toddlers are throwing stuff whizzing by the vase, and like, oh shit, we didn't think about, up above or something along those lines. So then they go get serious, glass case. They encase this whole entire thing. They seal it floor to ceiling. And I think they sit back and they all have a lemonade, and they're like, okay, I think we're good. There's no way those idiots are going to do this. And then right after that, an earthquake happens, and all the big shakes, and then the vase is fragile and falls on the floor and breaks into a million pieces, and you're like, well, shit. So that's fragility to me. Okay, so that was what I wrote about in the story. Now, the thing with fragility is there's a million ways. You can't protect anything. When something's fragile, it's going to break eventually, right? It doesn't matter what you do, what length you go to try to protect it. It's just vulnerable. I mean, it is what it is.
It's nature.
Right.
Its nature is to be in pieces. It's going from order to disorder.
Here's why. There is practically zero downside in asking a question. Who cares? If you ask a dumb question, who cares? If you ask a great question, it leads to more questions. It leads to more questions. Then those questions turn into, ideas. And then those additional questions, then they turn into things. And then those things become vulnerable and fragile. But whatever, it is what it is. Because if it breaks, you can always go back to the first principles and start again with another question.
And you don't get the answer. You get an answer of what it is not. So whatever the outcome is, there is a positive result to it. Regardless of what the outcome is a positive result to that particular outcome. It just, like you said, if you say, hey, which way is it? So if you say it's the wrong way, then that way is not the way. And so it's an information, it's value information. Even though I say, hey, that means you can say avoid that particular road or whatever piece of information that you're getting.
Exactly. So I started off this journey with the question of, can I find a way to stay connected to my daughter and to be an active father in the present with my daughter, even though she's not here? That was the question that I asked. And eventually that was kind of what this all boiled down to for me. And that was the exploration that I'm on. And I've hit a lot of dead ends, but at the same time, I've hit a lot of, good areas. And we'll continue to explore this for the rest of my days, and we'll find new ways to stay connected and together. And then you and I, we asked a beautiful question together of, can we start a business with a culture first without ever having an idea? And can we then turn that into something great? And then that's led us down 500 different avenues at this point in time. And we'll continue to ask more and more. If we get another dead end, we'll say, yeah, well, that's not it. We'll keep going back. Because the idea of what we're trying to do and the questions that we can still ask and generate is totally anti-fragile. I mean, we could do this for forever, if we still are captivated by the question and we want to continue to ask more and more questions off of it. So my reflection from this one is curiosity is anti-fragile. Protect your curiosity. Ask as many questions as you possibly can, and to never stop questioning the world around you. So that's it. Turn it over to you. Love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, because I think this is a very good topic to discuss, but it's also very hard to understand because it's opposite of what we used to. Because everybody knows things break, things go, and that's what we expect.
Right.
But we don't ever expect things that goes the opposite. And so when we look at that perspective, it's hard. It feels weird because it's new, it's unfamiliar.
Right.
And so when we talk about anti-fragile, people don't understand because the only way you can, it will give you an example of anti-fragile, which is like curiosity, which is, you're absolutely correct on that. We're talking about the muscle building. Like when you break down the muscle, it actually builds up more. So you're actually gaining from losing. And you talk about the hydra, when you cut one head off, two head will sprout. So that is when you shatter something in the fragile way, it actually builds it. So I think the question would be, what is anti-fragile for you and how can you use it? And that's something that I think it's important to ask because we don't understand how to accumulate outcome or the end result. I think that's the thing is over time, you want to be focusing your skills or your effort or your time on something that builds and not break.
Right.
So, right, so what is it? And you're talking about wisdom, right? Wisdom is actually anti-fragile because you think about wisdom, right? It's just a collection of experiences. And so you look at curiosity and wisdom and they're the same because as you have more, the thing is, you ask you this question, like let's say we have two identical twins, right? One twin, nothing happens to him. The other twin, one thing happens to him. Who has more wisdom in the end? Right? Because things is breaking him down.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
gonna get out. I'll learn from that. Hey, this is not what I should not be doing. Right? If I go to a poker table or I'll play this hand, I play that hand, and I lost. So every single loss, every single failure you have, it's actually teaching you something. You're collecting those valuable experiences. So that's what I'm saying is
there can never be anything invalid. It's there's you can't, there's nothing but upside in asking a question, even if it's the wrong question. If it's the right question, it'll take you down the path to
right. I mean, if I ask you a question, so you can answer yes or no, or you don't answer. Even when you don't answer, it's an answer to me.
Right?
It's a response to me. I say, well, if he don't answer, that means he's in this camp. If he answers yes, he's in this camp. If he says no, it's in this camp. So even if you don't answer the question, you still receiving valuable feedback. And that's what I'm saying is, if we as a collective can understand the things that are anti-fragile, what I'm saying, it is very difficult to understand. You're gonna have to slowly get it sink into your head to be able to come up with this thing because a lot of time if people are asking you what anti-fragile is, people have no idea. Right. But I'm saying is anti-fragile, it means whatever is opposite of breaking down. So whatever things happen to you, the more things happen to you, like let's say when you dig a hole, right? The more you dig, the bigger it gets. So that's it's kind of like against the grain of our human thinking because when you take away something, it always gonna go smaller, not bigger. But when you take dirt away, the hole gets bigger. So in that concept, right, it becomes the sort of an anti-fragile concept because it goes against the concept of what we used to and think of if you break something, right, that's what it's gonna shatter, it become less valuable. But when you look at things anti-fragile, that's going to help you over the long run. And I think, over time, anti-fragile to me, it is very powerful when you combine that with a compound effect. Because you think about like, let's say you ask questions, right? You ask a question because the more questions you have, right? The data points you have, the more accurate your decision will be. But you think about asking the question, but over a multiple series, the compound effect of it, it becomes exponentially huge because you're looking at exponential power of the collection. So I think if we as a company member wants to harness the power that is naturally occurring in nature, and we can understand it and be a student of the anti-fragile, we can actually use time span to benefit ourselves. And that's meaning like you look at like curiosity, like you say, exactly. If you can say, well, if I embrace the concept of curiosity, I embrace the concept of trying different things and having like expecting failures, it's going to give you tremendous wisdom in the end, and you have the utmost confidence to tackle anything that comes your way. You become more nimble, more flexible. So you look
Isn't losing then anti-fragile, or failure, I guess? Is that anti-fragile?
When you fail, it's anti-fragile, because the thing is, you don't learn anything when you win. Because the thing is, you win, but I have no idea what condition makes it a winner. Because if I change a slight condition, which basically in our world, you were talking about the wicked environment and the kind environment. In our world, it's a wicked environment. In wicked environment, all it means is in chaos. And so chaos is like very unpredictable. I mean, a small change, a tiny, minute change can have a huge effect. This is why people call it the butterfly effect.
Right.
The flap of the wing causes monsoon somewhere else. I mean, because how can a tiny flap wings of a butterfly cause a monstrous monsoon in another part of the world? And so any slight, tiny changes will cause big, massive difference in outcome.
Right.
And so when you look at those kind of environment, we want to use like I said before, you have to understand what kind of environment you're in, and then using the measuring tape or measuring tool in that environment to measure the elements in that environment. Don't take one ruler in one world and turn it into the chaos world and try to measure it. It doesn't work that way. So if you think about it, when I program something, I always expect failure. I expect at least 10 failures before I say, well, I think I've exhausted enough options. And even then I know I only got like 80 or 90% of all the coverages, meaning like all the different scenarios that I can think of. I know there's at least 20% left that is uncovered. But like I said, because I expect them, what I do is I'm more flexible and nimble in approaching a problem with different solutions. And so having the mental state of embracing the anti-fragile nature of things, you going to massively get the outcome you want without even realizing it. This is what I'm saying is because a lot of times
there's nothing but upside. Like, I mean,
but not only upside,
exactly.
it is so massive. It will blow your mind how much you will be accomplishing, and you'll be surprised how far you've gone. Those experiences are similar to the curiosity, the question he asked, or the thing that he has to deal with, the thing that has to handle. It's going to give him the ability to use it in a pattern that you won't be able to recognize. So same thing with the human race, right? The human race, like you and I can't do everything, right? You can't code, can you?
No.
I can't sell shit.
Right.
But collectively, we have created this massive system of having the 90% monkey and the 10% bees, because we as a species is able to coordinate and work together to hunt down a wood mammoth that is like 3 times, 5 times, 10 times our size, and we're able to. I mean, we constantly become extinct because we are the top predator, even though we don't have the sharpest teeth and we're not the fastest. But even then, we have this collective learning. The learning is anti-fragile because the thing is, we can talk about like all this stuff.
Knowledge is fragile. Learning is anti-fragile, in my opinion.
Well, the thing is, that's what we're doing. If we are learning, even though we are learning, so most of the episode that we talk about is completely is distinct and more. Sometimes they stand on alone pieces, but overall, the collective, it fits together into a puzzle in our head. My head, and your head, we become more convicted in terms of where we want to go and direction we want to go, and we are more confident in what we say. And regardless of whatever people say, it's not going to change my mind in the way that I live my life. Because the thing about just clubbing it alone, right? You and I were talking about this one book with this one concept or this inspiration that collectively have you up to this massive piece of mindset that we have become in a matter of 3 years. You imagine like millions of years that our human race have been able to share, like with the books that Nassim Nicholas Taleb shared with us. We are collectively learning from him, and he's learning from other people. So it has been passed down from generation to generations to generations, and that is, I would call it anti-fragile, because collectively we have gone so far because we are standing on shoulders of giants. Because the thing is, you and I, like, do you know how to make fire?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know how to make a wave? You know how to
make a wave,
right? Do you know how to make a rocket? My point is, you don't. but somebody else does.
Somebody else does. Yeah, yeah.
Else does, because each of us has a very specific skills, right? But collectively, as an ecosystem, as a species, we have been passing on knowledge, wisdom from generation to generation. If you think about it, we are able to fly out of this planet to the moon, and we're able to send satellite. We're able to send like shuttles to other planets. You think about it. If we don't have the ability to collectively learn from the past, because how do you learn from the past? You can't really learn from yourself and say, hey, I experienced this at age 5. No, what about all this stuff that happened before you're born? You learn from that. And that's what I'm saying is for us as learning is the ultimate anti-fragile. But anti-fragile is not just learning, but I'm saying that's one of the examples. Curiosity is another, right? I'm talking about, so if you can understand the concept of anti-fragile, figure out what it is in your life that you want to embrace that is anti-fragile,
or create it, because clubbing is anti-fragile. Like, it'll never be a thing. It's a culture, and cultures aren't totally anti-fragile, but if you do it right, they are anti-fragile. Like, I mean, the Catholic Church isn't going anywhere. The only reason you can make a culture vulnerable is if you tie that culture to a thing, right? Like, a business is a culture that's tied to a thing, right? Like, religion is not tied to a thing.
And you think about it, anything that's anti-fragile, it will grow over time, and it will grow the more you kick it.
Right.
And that's to me is as simple as I can say to you. Whatever is anti-fragile, the more you put anything into it, the more it grows. You can kick it as much as you want. The more you kick it, the bigger it gets. Right. So the more questions you ask, right, the more data points you get.
But it can't be a thing, is what I'm trying to say. Is
well, it's not a thing.
I'm saying the longer you can keep your question from becoming an idea and then becoming a thing.
But it could be a thing. Right? Fragile is a concept.
I know.
Anti-fragile concept, but a fragile can be a thing. A fragile could be a vase. An anti-fragile could be a hole. I told you, when you take dirt away, when you hit the dirt, right? You're gonna make the hole bigger. So, as from the perspective of a thing, a hole is a thing.
I mean, you could easily collapse a hole in on itself. I mean, it's not impregnable. I mean, it's not.
What I'm saying is there is a thing. So I'm saying is anti-fragile is a concept. It is difficult to understand, but the point I'm getting is, understand this. It's going to give you an edge,
right?
In terms of
focus your attention on things that are anti-fragile. Is kind of what.
Yes, I'm saying, and so I'm saying is, I know a little bit about anti-fragile. I don't know a lot, so the example I give you might not be accurate, but you still get my point. My point is, when something, it could be a concept could be a thing. I don't know what it is, because I'm not expert in it, because I'm new to anti-fragile, as you even for he stumbled on this answer over many years of researching the randomness phenomenon, the black swan, and then the anti-fragile is his solutions to the problem of the black swan, right? So he has spent an incredible amount of time and effort into it. You and I just read the book. And we need more training to be able to answer all the questions in a way that fits all the parameters. So I can say maybe a whole, but I don't know. You can't ask me right now, I don't know. But maybe in a few years I might come across something that can represent a thing that is anti-fragile. Right. And I could probably go find something in the.
It's tough. I mean, it's really tough.
In physics, right? You're talking about a black hole or some antimatter, and it exhibits some of these properties. But like I said, we have to understand. But the premise of anti-fragile is anti, right? Anti is opposite of fragile. So it goes against the fragility. So most of what we see today is fragility. So what can we find that is not fragile, that is going against the grain of fragility? Once you find that and then focus your effort on that, it will give you a huge advantage. So that's to me, it's a lesson that I'm taking away from this lesson. You have to find that. It could be curiosity, like you say, right? Curiosity.
Values are anti-fragile, is truthfully, like the more time that you invest into values, the more times they grow, and you can't take away somebody's value. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can't. How can I? Even in man's search for meaning, even if you're in a concentration camp, like, I still value learning. I still value balance. I still value, don't do it alone. I still value like whatever I value, right? I still value endure. Like you can't take that from me. Like, I mean, like literally that is something that is completely like things that are anti-fragile in my mind are things that are abstract. They're ideas, they're concepts, they're questions, they're learning.
Most of the example we can think of are abstract right now, but I'm saying is if you understand it enough, you can probably find some concrete things, object that exhibit those properties.
Well, science is anti-fragile.
The point is that anti-fragile is the opposite of fragile.
Right.
And it's still hard to understand, even for me and you, right? I know what it is at some respect, but it's still scratching the surface of it. And it's hard to explain to the audience what it is and get them to understand what we mean. A lot of times we don't know what we don't know until we come across it, and then we actually test it out and say, therefore we start to slash it out, start crossing that, just like we do with how to explain clubbing to people, right? We start saying a bunch of things, but we're describing like it's still missing something, even though right?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so we come up with these examples of what anti-fragile is. It exhibits most of the properties of anti-fragile, but not 100%, because we still haven't enough.
I mean, honestly, in my opinion, YOML is anti-fragile. Like the more questions we ask, the more stuff that you and I explore together, the more concepts that we learn together, like the more that we gain from breaking down our mindset, you know what I mean, of changing paradigms, like of identity is fragile, the opposite with anti-identity
is discussion we have, right? The YOML, exactly. So the thing is, you said YOML is anti-fragile, but I understand what it is. If you take somebody else's perspective, they have no idea what you're saying. They say, well, you say what property is anti-fragile. Well, you telling me, you give me a statement, but I don't understand.
It's not a thing. I mean, the day that YOML becomes a book, I suppose that becomes a little bit more fragile at that point in time.
But this is what I'm saying is, I guess the muddy water a little bit is, when we toss an idea back and forth, we basically hit it. That idea starts to grow. That's anti-fragile.
Yeah.
So let's say we pick a topic like anti-fragile or compound fact or, the rider and the elephant, right? You hit it to me. You say, hey, it looks like this. I say it looks like that. So basically, we're hitting back and forth. We create chaos around it. The more you and I toss the idea back and forth, the clearer and the bigger the idea gets. That's anti-fragile. That's what we mean when we say clubbing and YOML is anti-fragile, because what we do on here is we take anti-fragile and we discuss on that topic.
Apply it to our stuff going forward,
I have different perspective. I see different things, and I add it to that. The moment that you send it over to me, say, hey, what do you think about this? You basically send that idea over to my court, and I say, well, I see it this way. Well, it just added to your horizon of perspective of that particular object. And then you say something, it added to my understanding of that object. So in that sense, the more we volley back and forth this topic of whatever that was discussed, it is going to grow our understanding of that particular concept. This is why I agree that YOML is anti-fragile, because the more we do this, the more this idea or whatever become clearer and become more bigger in scope. Because the thing is, I see a small section of it, but then when I pass it to you, you see the other side, right? And then you and I collectively see more of its
it reveals itself as we keep going, but like discussion in general is anti-fragile.
Exactly.
You just made me think about politics. Like politics just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows of how it entrenches into our life, because there's so many different ways to slice to angles to take in public discourse and how we want to talk about things and how we want to live our lives and yada yada yada, and it just keeps packing people on and packing people on. It gains from disorder. The more that we try to break down each other's ideologies and thoughts and deals, like the more the politics becomes more and more pervasive in everyday life, right? And like discussion for you and I, this is YOML. That is what YOML is. Like if somebody said, no, YOML's a book. No, it's not. YOML is True and Chris getting together every night to discuss a topic that we're applying these ideas toward Clubbany, which is an abstract topic in itself. We're figuring out how can we take these things and continue to make it bigger and grow and grow and grow. So like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head. Each one of these episodes and each one of these topics and each one of these reflections is just compounding on top of each other, and there's no downside to this conversation. What's the
But if you
worst thing
think
that can
about
happen?
it is so much more than just like the idea I told you, because what I say to you, right, helps you understand, but also clarify for even from my
Yeah, it
perspective
happens all the time.
a clearer image of what I see. But then you also have your perspective, and I'm adding your perspective to my perspective. So not only that my perspective gets clearer, but the more angles that you pass back to me, that angle gives me more clarity on it. But then only like not only that I have clarity on it, I was able to take the clarity and then go apply it to the life that I have and the applications of what I've learned from this podcast. What's going to give me feedback. That feedback allows me to do even more because I understand it more now. So I can go apply it. When I apply it, I see reaction from people. I see how I feel. There's so many different feedback loop that gives me in that sense just by talking to you on this topic.
Right.
And so you look at for this particular piece, like there is so much layers that is impacting the collective understanding of this topic. Not only what we say in this hour, but beyond that, we have the ability to take it and put into action. That action get a reaction. That reaction give us feedback. Hey, we did this. Well, it's working or it didn't work, or I get this experience, or I didn't get this experience, or whatever. Positive, negative, neutral, whatever. Those feedback accumulated into the already understood concept, make it even more valuable and more beneficial for me and for you. And that's what this is scratching the surface of the impact it can make, because there is so many layers that I can't even see them all.
There's been many conversations where you and I have both been like, what's the downside though? We had fun, we talked, we did stuff we like to do, and we went on our way and look forward to the next conversation the next day. But then there's other days that we have really deep conversations that light bulbs go off and ahas go off, and we can add more to our club and infrastructure, like, but it doesn't matter either way. There's zero down. I go back to like the idea of downside, right? Like there's zero downside for you and I to have this conversation. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is you say, I don't like Chris anymore. I mean, that would be devastating, like, but not really. You know what I mean? Like, I would like if I told you one day, like, True, I don't ever want to talk to you ever again. You'd say, well, that sucks, but like, I guess okay. Like, what am I gonna say?
Right,
Like,
but you have to understand that everything has its direction, because you think about it, in an anti-fragile, nothing grows without disorder.
Right.
If somehow tomorrow the world stops being chaotic, then anti-fragile won't grow. Right. So it's not always constant, but because we live in a chaotic world, in this dynamic world, it will always grow, because that is what drives forward this world. This world is chaos. The world of chaos. Chaos is like you mentioned the wicked environment and the kind environment. I like to kind of like reword this to say, hey, we are living in a chaos environment, and that's make more sense, I think, for me than the wicked, because I think the wicked, it may have the other connotation of what it means, but I think truly, we live in a chaotic world, because you can't repeat anything twice. Not because there's so many different parameters and variables that comes to play. And that, for example, like, you remember that book, The Rise and Reign of Mammals, right? I read that book. The guy was saying, like,
oh, you read it?
I read it, yeah.
Nice.
So we become this, survive the destructions of the extinctions period, of multiple extinction period. What I get from the book is by the diet that we have.
Yeah.
Right? The diet we have is actually because we have evolved our diet. But because our diet evolved, the plants evolve, the angiosperms evolve as well to I'm sorry. I read the book.
No, it's good. No, it's
you
good.
told me to
You have the same aha, right? Actually, I'm sorry. That actually was from this book called An Immense World, because that was also about mammals, and I read that right before The Rise and Reign of Mammals. That I'll get to that one, because this is my reflection from that one, actually. So yeah, go ahead.
But my point is, because the thing is, I'm saying that this world, we live in a chaotic world. That means that so many variables comes into play. So any slight change will cause a whole different path. Because that book, it mentioned we have evolved to this kind of species, and we will beat out the Neanderthals and many other lineage, is because we have been able to evolve with a diet. But if you understand, like, well, if I evolve my diet, but if that diet has become very, scarce, right, I can't continue my diet.
Right.
So the thing is, we as a species were able to change our diet because our diet changes the plants to evolve. Because angiosperms wasn't evolving until we start changing our diet, and then that angiosperm starts to fulfill, because the more we eat it, the more the more it grows too, and the more it spread, because we help angiosperms evolve. Angiosperm help us evolve, because it's that circular loop. Because so in this case,
I worked really, really hard for that motherfucker to never do a damn thing in this entire house. Like it does nothing. Right. That dog does nothing.
Right, because in this exam, I'm stating the major interdependency of one another, because one builds on each other, right? So you think about that particular interdependency loop, like one builds on each other. Make that 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. This is the world we live in. Any slight changes will cause a dramatic differences in outcome, like the butterfly effect that I mentioned before. That's why I'm saying what we live in is very chaotic, and it is driven by the disorder. People understand what integrate is, basically from order to disorder. That is how the world operates. We happen to live in that world. If we go to another dimension that happen to be opposite, then you have to use fragility instead of anti-fragility, right? But because we live in this world, you're gonna have to want to embrace the thing that gains from basically it's like go down the river. You got running downhill. You think about it. This world has already been spinning in that direction. So why are you going opposite of it? Just flow down. Let it help you flow and serve. You serve the chaos versus trying to hold back the chaos. That's what I'm saying.
Well, it sounds like you liked that book, and I can't wait to talk more about it. Yeah, I love that book. I thought it was amazing.
It has good, I guess.
It's just like the foundational. It's the first principles almost of humanity.
It's like some of these things. Like I think some of these are known knowledge, and some of them are.
No, they're not. I totally disagree. You can only see trends. There's no way. We look at the world that we have right now today, and we think that this is the way that the world either always is or always will be. I know that we, in theory, think, oh yeah, like rivers carved out the Great Canyon, or once upon a time there are all these continents.
I mean, we don't even know. We don't even know.
Right.
Who built the pyramids?
Right.
And we're not even sure who built the pyramid.
Somebody.
Right.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying is, even something that we can see, we are not even sure how it got there. We have speculations on it. That's what I'm saying is some of these things are, more like
so abstract.
At the same thing, somebody kind of put like two things, just to post them together, give me the aha. Because I would say, well, if our evolution is dependent on diet, and then angiosperm at the same time was also growing up because we did it. We started changing our diet. That thing drives on our eating. It's just like for us, like the tree ain't gonna live if we don't have animal breathing out carbon dioxide, right? You think about it. So they depend on us and we depend on them. So we have this symbiotic relationship. And you think about that circle, because the more we produce, the more they can consume. And the more they consume, right, the more they release that. So it's that cycle, it's symbiotic cycle, right? We grow, they grow. We die, they die. Right. And so it is that keeping up of the dependency of each other that creates this evolution. Because I'm saying it's like we can't really evolve by ourselves. That's the aha I took from that book. Because thing is,
I contain multitudes. Remember, I mean, even you're talking about things outside of us, things inside of us. We can't even grow by ourselves. Like, I mean, like we are 100%. Like this is all interconnected. Like 100%. Okay, and so I gotta ask a favor though. Like I am exhausted. I am sick. I just got done from a tennis match. I'm loving the conversation, but I am like, it is late. It's almost 11 o'clock, so I got to go to bed. Now you got me like thinking, and now I'm probably not going to go to sleep. But anyway, all right, I got to go to bed though. I hate cutting these off short because I love these conversations, but I'm just like shit, I gotta get to sleep. Like,
So instead, yeah.
well, thanks everybody for joining us. More discussions to come on Anti-Fragile. We still got 2 more left. And a question we can leave for you all is, what questions do you need to bring out into this world and see where they take you? You know, because those are curiosities and is anti-fragile, you know, or go find other things to be anti-fragile. But yeah, something to think about. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you all tomorrow.